Hey, my dear students, today we would be talking about the first unit of your business studies. It is divided into two parts. One part is related to the history of trade and commerce in India. So, this is we will be discussing today, which has the content like indigenous banking system, rise of intermediaries, transportation, trading communities, merchant corporations, major trade centers, and major imports and export, as well as the position Indian subcontinent in the world economy. So basically, the purpose of teaching you is to acquaint the history of trade and commerce in India. But before we discuss it in detail, I would advise you to watch some of the videos so that you have a very good understanding about the ancient trade and commerce in India. So this is one video about the August Sanhita. Then there is one video about the ancient universities of India. I am sharing the link in the description as well as on your screen also, so you can just touch and see it. This is about a large artificial lake which was. So now we are going to talk about the history of trade and commerce in India as per your syllabus. Though I would be discussing about the trade and commerce in detail later on, but just as the word meaning, I would like to tell you here that the trade refers to a process of transfer of goods or services from one person or one organization, one entity to another, usually in exchange for money. And a network that allows trade is called a market. So, trading was the main facility of prehistoric people who bartered goods and services from each other before the innovation of modern day currency. So, there was a barter system where the direct exchange of goods and services for other goods and services was taking place. Then the direct exchange of goods and services for precious metals started, and then exchange through use of money, and then exchange of goods and services to non-physical. So this is all the. As we know that the physical features of a place has an important being on its economic and social development. So the location of Indian subcontinent is strategic as it has Himalayan on its north, and in the south India projects into and is bounded by the Indian Ocean, in particular by the Arabian Sea on the west, then the Lakshadweep Sea to the southwest, the Bay of Bengal on the east. See, it is very clearly known through the archaeological evidences that the trade and commerce were the foundation of the economy in ancient times and was carried out both through water and land. As you can see it very clearly here, these blue routes have been shown here as the sea route, and this red has been shown as the land route. You must have studied in history earlier also that this silk route primarily refers to the land routes, which have been shown here with the red color. And maritime routes, they were linked to the east and west by sea, which has been shown here the blue color. It was also known as the spice route. And the emergence of this silk route fostered commercial and political links with the adjoining foreign kingdom and empires of Asia, as well as with the world at large. On the other hand, the maritime routes linked the east and the west by sea and were used for the trade of spices and branded as spice route. The trade progressed tremendously with the flow of wealth through these routes. The chief kingdom, important trade centers and the industrial belt flourished during ancient times in India. The previous video which you have seen that proves that the trade and commerce have played a vital role in making India to evolve as a major player in the economic world in ancient times. And there are many archaeological evidence which you have seen in my previous links and videos that the trade and commerce was the basis of the economy of ancient India. And with the emergence of commercial cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro in the 3rd millennium BC, the period was marked by extensive commercial activities and urban development. These civilizations promoted commercial links with the Mesopotamia and traded in gold, silver, copper, colored gemstones, beads, pearls, seashells, terracotta pots, etc. Due importance was also given to build up military security and laying down of trade regulations. Many different types of coins and weighing practices were used, varying from place to place. And recently, we have seen the archaeological evidence in Sinauli. You must have seen the documentary by Manoj Bajpayee, who presented this very nicely. You must watch it. So, in that archaeological survey, they found the chariot, which we believe that it was used during Mahabharat Kal. So we had, they found their four-legged tombs with pottery, even some very developed weapons also. This is how the people have done the archaeological survey in Sinauli. So that proves that our civilization is older than the Mohenjo-daro and Harappan. And we have clear-cut evidence that we were using the different types of coins and the weighing practices during that time. So this whole chapter has been divided into these topics and we would be dealing this one by one. So now let us talk about the indigenous banking system. Over a period of time, the economic activities gained momentum as the barter system was replaced with metals. The metallic currency had an advantage. What? That it can be used as an exchange mechanism because of its durability and divisibility. The very popular financial instrument which was used during that days was hundi or chitti in some of the areas we used to call this. You may see here the example of. So if it is asked that what is hundi, we can say that hundi is an instrument of exchange involves a contract which a it's a warrant of the payment of money or the promise or order which is unconditional. Second is what? Capable of change through transfer by valid negotiation. So if we have to divide the hundi as it is given in your NCERT book, we may discuss this into this way. So we may divide it into two parts. One is muddati and second is darshani. Muddati means based on time. So a time or a duration would be there. Correct? Like 3 months, 6 months. After that it will be paid. Now let us understand it one by one. Muddati also has these three types: Dhani Jog, Farman Jog, and Jokhmi. Same here in the Darshani also it was four types: Dhani Jog, Shah Jog, Farman Jog, and Dekhanhar. Muddati is also called as Miyadi. Miyadi or Muddati is something which is payable after a certain time period, like a time bill. Okay, so banks generally provide loans for the security of such hundis. Darshani is at sight, means the moment it will be shown to you, you have to make the payment. So that is called Darshani. Now let us talk it one by one. First one is Dhani Chok. It is such a hundi is like any other bearer instrument and is payable to the holder or the bearer. Dhani in local terms means owner. It is generally like a bearer check, as the holder of it becomes a holder in due course if he takes it for value. Then comes the Sahajog. This is also part of the Darshani Hundi, please remember it. It is drawn by one merchant on another one businessman on another businessman, asking the latter to pay the amount to a third merchant. In this case, the merchant on whom the hundi is drawn has certain level of creditworthiness. That's why he is called as Shah, yeah, who's having a creditworthiness in the market. So a Sajog hundi or Sajog hundi passes from one hand to another till it reaches the final recipient. So who after reasonable inquiries will present it to the drawee for acceptance of the payment. So here Shah means a specific person, someone who is respectable in the market, in the society. So please remember it. Then comes the Farman Jog. ये फरमान मीन्स ऑर्डर कि ये ऊपर से फरमान आया है हाँ we say it na like someone has given the order from the higher authority. So it is similar to a check. Nowadays you must be knowing about the check, which is payable on order to either to the person whose name is mentioned in the hundi or to any person so ordered by him. So no endorsement is required on such a hundi. This is called Farman Jog. Then comes the Dekhanhar. Usually this was written for a shorter period of time, and the moment it would be presented, you will have to pay it. So it is payable to the presenter or whosoever is bearing it. So it was like a bearer check. Then comes the Dhani Jog. Remember, it is Muddati. So it would be payable to any person, no liability over who receive payment, but payment over a fixed term. So a term would be mentioned, remember it, because it is Muddati. Same way, Farman Jog, all the meaning would be same, but the difference is what? When it is Muddati, then the hundi made payable to order following a fixed term. Then there was another a different type of hundi which is called as Jokhmi hundi. This hundi, Jokhmi hundi, again it is a muddati. It is drawn against the dispatched goods. If goods lost in transit, the drawer or holder will bear the entire cost of that, and the drawee carries no liability in that case. Basically, this was used to encourage the import and export, foreign trade especially. So unlike any other hundi, Jokhmi hundi is not negotiable and conditional in nature, as the drawer promises to pay the amount of the hundi only on the satisfaction of a certain condition. That was what? That the goods has reached to the destination, then only it will be payable. So it was a kind of, insurance. See, the term jokhmi has come originally from the Hindi word jokhim. You must have heard this, na? We use it. It means what? Risk. बोलते हैं ना ये बहुत जोखिम का काम है, तो एक्चुअली इट इज़ रिस्की. सो इट इज़ जनरली ड्रॉन अगेंस्ट गुड्स shipped on a vessel and shows a certain risk involved in the shipment of goods. So Jokhmi hundi is a combination of a bill of exchange and an insurance policy, and payable only when the goods has reached safely and securely to the destination in good condition. So if anything wrong happens to the goods during transit, then the consignor cannot claim payment of the hundi from the consignee. Thus, a jokhmi hundi safeguards the interest of both the parties. It acts as a bill of exchange if the goods arrive securely, and if the goods are lost or destroyed in transit, such a bill acts as an insurance cover. Okay, so this is all about the hundi. So these are the different types of hundi. We may classify it into on the basis of the muddati and darshani, and these are the meaning of this. Hope it has made it very clear now. A student, the indigenous banking system played a very vital role in lending money and financing domestic and foreign trade with currency, and later of credit. So, with the development of banking, the people started depositing their valuable uh, possessions like precious metals, stones, gold, with lending individual functioning as a bankers or saints. They used to be called as saint. And then gradually money become a means of making payment for manufacturers in return for the supply of goods. See, the people were primarily involved in agriculture and the domestication of animals. So, beside people were engaged in weaving cottons, dyeing fabrics, making clay pots, utensils, and handicraft, sculpting, cottage industries, manufacturing, transports, and we were using all carts, boats, and ships, which enabled them to generate surpluses and saving for further investment. Then the next topic which we have to discuss is the rise of intermediaries. Intermediaries consisted of commission agents, brokers, and distributors, both for wholesale as well as for retail goods also. So, who played a very important role in promotion of trade. Basically, they provided substantial financial security to the producers by bearing the responsibility for the risk involved, in particular with reference to foreign trade, and was financed by loans. So the risk involved, in particular with reference to foreign trade, was financed by, and the rate of interest for longer voyages was kept high, considering the huge risk involved. And that was the time when the emergence of Jagat Seths, which represented very rich businessmen, uh, those who were involved in banking, those who were working as a money lender. Mainly, they were from a particular family, greatly influenced trade during the Mughal period and the days of East India Company. So, with the evolution of credit transaction and easy availability of loans and advances, commercial activities increased manifold within the economy and was marked favorable balance of trade. The bankers began to act as trustees, and they were the executors of the endowment in the form of both short term and long term loans. And the commercial and industrial banks were established to finance trade and commerce. And the agricultural banks catered to the financial needs of the agriculturist. Then the next topic is of transportation. See, in order to ensure smooth movement of goods from one place to another, many new landways and waterways were discovered and established. The trade routes were well structured and ensured both speed and safety during movement of goods and people. See, in those times we were having all weather roads, means throughout the year we could transport easily. The northern roadways route is assumed to have stretched originally from Bengal to Takshila, and the trade routes were spread across the country from south to east and west. And the type of global trade which took place through sea route was known as maritime trade. During the era of Roman Empire, Muziris, situated on the Malabar coast, has a long history of international maritime trade. Paper was known as black gold and was in great demand in the Roman Empire. There is a story about it that a king captured Rome, and Rome asked to help India. And then the Indian king sent a letter to that king who captured the Rome, said that please leave them, otherwise we will come with our army. And then they say that no need to come with your army, you just send one ship of spice and we will release the Rome. So the story is known as जब हमने रोम का मूल्य चुकाया. So we sent one full ship of spices from India to Rome, and Rome was released. So that time the paper was known as black gold and was in great demand in the Roman Empire. The rivalry and conflict between various empires and trade powers to gain supremacy over route for this trade continued for centuries. And the strong inclination among the traders to search for an alternate route to India for trading of spices led to the discovery of America by Columbus towards the end of 15th century. Vasco da Gama, a Portuguese explorer, was the first European to reach India by sea to the shores of Malabar in 1498. And this discovery of the sea route to India was significant and opened the way for an age of global exchange. Then there is the Chinese traders frequently visited Calicut to acquire items like essential oils, fragrant resin used in perfumes, medicines from the Middle East, as well as paper, diamonds, pearls, and cottons from India. Pulicat, located on the Coromandel coast, was a major port in the 17th century, from where the textile constituted the principal export to Southeast Asia. Then the another topic which we need to talk about that is merchant corporations. During ancient times, the rise in commercial activities fostered the development of different trading communities in different parts of the country. Like in northern region, the trading communities were Punjabi and Multani merchants. In Gujarat and Rajasthan, there were Bhatts. In western India, there were Mahajans. In southern India, Chhat. Then in Ahmedabad and other urban centers. The urban groups included professionals classes like Hakim, Vaid, means the doctor, physicians, Wakil, the lawyer, Pandits or Mullah, means the teachers, painters, musicians, calligrapher, etc. So all these, Mahajan community collectively represented by their chief called Nagar Seth. So the concept of the Jagat Seth, Nagar Seth were there. And in order to safeguard their interests during early times, the merchants formally organized themselves into guilds. And these guilds were called as merchant corporations. And they were autonomous corporations which laid down their own rules of membership and professional code of conduct. And they demanded complete compliance from the kings as well. So their major source of revenue were like trade and industry taxes. So they used to define this. The trader had to pay octroi duties and custom duties that were levied on largely of the imported goods at different rates. This could be paid either in cash or in kind. Then there were ferry tax also. It had to be paid to the local bodies for passengers, goods, cattle or carts. And these guilds chief transacted directly with the king or tax collectors and to settle the market toll on behalf of its fellow merchants at a fixed amount of money. And these guilds merchants also acted as custodian of religious interest as well. They were involved in the building temples, contributing towards donation by imposing a corporate tax on their members. So we had a very nice structured system. So the commercial activities enabled big merchants to gain influence in the society, and they were very respectable in the society. Now let us talk about the major trade centers which we had in those times. So over a period of time, with the growth in trade activities, many trade centers were developed as strategic locations. So a few of the major commercial cities of ancient India are discussed below. A few of the major commercial cities we are going to discuss now one by one. The first one is Patliputra. Right now it is in Patna in Bihar. So you must be aware of the location in India. It was a developed city in ancient India, originally built by Magad ruler in 490 BCE as a small fort Paligram near the Ganga river. It was a commercial town and also a major center for export of stones. Second one is Peshawar. It was known as a popular exporting center for wool and for the import of horses. In the first century AD, it was one of the main participants in commercial transactions between India, China, and Rome. Third one is Taxila. Taxila is an important archaeological site of the ancient Indian subcontinent located in the city of Taxila in Punjab. Now it is in Pakistan. It was considered to be a major center on the important land route between India and Central Asia. The city was also known as a city of financial and commercial banks and also occupied an important place as a Buddhist center of learning. As you must have seen in my that video of University of Ancient India, that was considered to be one of the earliest universities in the world. Then comes the Indraprasth. The location of Indraprasth is at present near New Delhi. Especially the Purana Killa in present day in New Delhi is frequently cited in reference. It was the commercial intersection on the Royal Road where most routes leading to the east, west, south, and north converged. Then, now let us talk about the Mathura. It was an important center of trade and which was the main occupancy of the local people. Many routes from South India touched Mathura and Bharuch. Then Varanasi, your own city. It was strategically located, as it lay both on the Gangetic route and on the highway which connected north with the east. So it grew as a major center of textile industry. That's why the Banarsi sari, silk, and all these are very famous of Varanasi, and they become very popular for stunning gold silk cloth. This is called as Banarsi sari and sandalwood workmanship. It had links with Taxila and Bharuch directly. And next one is Mithila. The traders of Mithila traded at ports on the island of Java, Sumatra, and Borneo. They had to cross the seas by boats through the Bay of Bengal to the South China Sea for reaching there. So Mithila set up trading colonies in South China, mainly in Yunnan. Then Ujjain. The main export from Ujjain were different types of clothes which were sent to different centers. It also had trade alliance with Taxila and Peshawar through the land route. Then the Surat, which is in Gujarat. It was the center of western trade during the Mughal period. The textiles of Surat were popular for their exquisite gold border that is called jari. It is worth mentioning that Surat Hundi was honored in the distance market of Egypt and Iran. So it was very famous and popular. And Kanchi, the present day Kanchipuram. Kanchi was popular among Chinese traders who used to come in foreign ships to buy pearls, glass, and rare stones, and in return they sold gold and silk. Then the 11th trade center which we have to discuss is Madura. It is in Tamil Nadu. It was the capital of Pandyas who controlled the pearl fisheries of the Gulf of Mannar. Many foreign merchants, predominantly Romans were attracted to it for doing overseas trade. This Gulf of Mannar is here in between India and Sri Lanka. You can see it here. Then the Broch or the Bharuch. It was the greatest place of commerce in Western India. It was situated on the banks of river Narmada and was connected with all significant marts by the roadways. Kaveri Patnam, which is in Tamil Nadu now. It was the headquarter base for the foreign traders. It was scientifically constructed as a city and provided loading, unloading, and strong facilities of merchandise. It was a convenient location for trade with Malaysia, Indonesia, China, and Far East. As a trade center, it was popular for perfumes, cosmetics, scents, silk, wool, cotton, corals, pearls, gold, and precious stones, and also for shipbuilding. Then the Tamralipte. It was one of the greatest ports linked with both by sea and land with the west and the far east. So it was connected by road to Banaras and Takshila, means Varanasi. So basically, if we have to talk about that, the what was the major export and import from India? So I have shown it here. These were the goods which was majorly exported from India, and these were the imports. Now let us talk about the positions of Indian subcontinent in world economy. So we will be talking about from 1 AD to 1991 and after that. In ancient times, India was referred to as Swarnbhumi or Swarnadweep in the literary works of many eminent travelers such as Megasthenes, Fayan, Huensang, Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta, Frenchman Francois. So during the period of 1st and the 7th centuries CE, India is projected to have the largest economy of the ancient and medieval world, commanding about one third and one fourth of the world's wealth. So now let us see one very amazing video. It is about the amazing India by Bharat Gyan. So I am sharing the link as well, and you can see this video now. I am sure you must have seen this video. So we can say that the prosperity of the Indian economy prompted the Europeans get on great voyage of discovery to India. In the beginning, the Europeans came to plunder the wealth, but eventually started realizing the rewards of trade in exchange of gold and silver. So what happened that in the 18th century, India was far behind Western Europe in many aspects like technology, innovation, although it witnessed growth, trade, and commerce. In the mid 18th century, the British Empire began to establish itself in India, and with the rising control of the East India Company, the economy suffered in many ways. Most importantly, the revenues generated by the province under its rule were utilized for buying Indian raw materials, spices, and goods. So, consequently, the regular inflow of bullion that accrued on account of foreign trade stopped. So, here you can see actually in the 1 AD 32%. It was the largest regional contribution in the world economy, as you can see it here. In 1000 AD, 32%, almost same. 1500 AD, 24.36, second in regional share. So you can see from here started declining. 1600 AD, 24.41, again almost same or it has increased. And 1700 AD, 24.46. 1700 to 1750, 25% of world's industrial output, amazingly. 1850, 5 to 10% decline. So you can easily understand the reason. 1870, 9.2%. 1900, 2% only. 1913, which is British Empire, 5.4%. It has increased slightly. Then in 1952, after independence, 1947, in 1952, we could see 3.8% of the world economy. In 1973, 3.1, and then in 1991 we started with the economic liberalization. The change started. Post independence, the process of reconstruction the economy was initiated. The first 5-year plan was implemented in the year 1952, which laid due emphasis on development of modern industries, establishment of modern technological and scientific institutes, space and nuclear programs under the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister. However, the process of development was initially low due to multiple factors like deficiency in capital formation, increase in population, large expenditures on defense. Consequently, India became dependent of foreign debt. It was the implementation of the new economic policy in the year 1991 which paved way for economic development of the country. Now, India is considered to be one of the fastest growing economies in the world today and the first choice of companies for foreign direct investment. Many initiatives of the government like Make in India, skill development, Digital India, and the implementation of the foreign trade policy FTP 2015-20 was put India on an unprecedented path of growth and development. So now we can say that the India is moving in the right direction and the state which we used to have, the status which we used to have as Vishwaguru, we are moving towards it. Thank you.